Welcome to Tracking the Cats. We've got another edition today. I've got Steve White, my co-host. I'm Bob Saban. We've got a great show for you today. We're bringing in a gentleman that a lot of y'all already know, Chad Gerrety. Some of you may not know him because a lot of times he works in the background, but he is our senior, and I always have to look at this, Chad, Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Affairs. Been with us for over 12 years now, and I've known Chad for 6 or 7 of those years. One time, a couple of times you've really helped me out, but I remember going to a baseball game on a chilly day in Knoxville, and all of a sudden I was treated by royalty, got tickets to get in, got snacks, and you became a lot higher on my checklist there, Chad. He's been around for a while. He's been to worked similar positions at Akron and Weber State in Utah. Do you say Weber or Weber?
It is Weber State.
We.
You
That's
are
what I
correct.
thought.
Yeah.
And you've worked at East Tennessee, but you're from Erie, Pennsylvania. My wife's from Buffalo. It's a good thing you didn't end up in Boone, where you would have felt right at home climate wise.
Yeah, we
So,
see a little lake effect snow up in Erie from time to time.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, welcome. Steve, you want to talk a little bit about baseball before we get started with Chad?
Yes, I'm a little bit down this morning after yesterday's game. We were going for the sweep, which would have taken care of a lot of things for us. Sort of our destiny would have been in our own hands. But now we're looking at a situation. We're going to Greensboro this weekend for a 3-game series Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we've gotten to the point right now that we're probably going to have to sweep UNCG down there, and then hope that East Tennessee beats the Citadel a couple of twice, say at least twice down in Charleston. Now that East Tennessee's arguably the best team in the league. I don't think there's any argument about that. They are. But the Citadel's shown that they can come back off of the mats to win a ball game. But the whole thing is we're trying to finish in fourth place. Right now, we've got Mercer and Citadel tied for that spot right now with the same record. We have the tiebreaker with Citadel. We do not have it with Mercer. So Mercer would maybe help us out if they could lose 3 to Sanford this weekend, but those games are in Macon, so probably not going to happen. What we're trying to do is avoid playing that first day, the Wednesday of the week from Wednesday, the tournament. Excuse me, that would be 2 weeks. Well, it'd be a week from this coming Wednesday down in
Correct.
Greenville. That's a single elimination. The bottom 4 teams play in a single elimination mini tournament, and then the top 4 teams do not have to play until the next day. In fact, the number 1 and number 2 teams in regular season get a double bye, do not have to play. They sit around and watch us, everybody beat up on everybody there for a couple of days. But that's very important when you look at your pitching staff. And granted, we've got 2 outstanding starting pitchers right now, but our depth is maybe a little bit on the shy side as far as going to a third starter or our bullpen right now. And I think our success in the Southern Conference tournament hinges on what happens this weekend. But I'm not
Well,
saying you can't come out of that bracket and win it. It's I know Wofford did it back in 2007. They were dead last in the league and came up and won the tournament and went to the NCAA tournament. We were number 1. We lost 2 ball games and we weren't even around for the semifinals that year. So I know strange things can happen. Yeah.
well, it sounds like you were yelling a little bit. Your voice is not
Yes.
as good as it usually
Not that I would
is.
ever get excited at a baseball game or anything, or talk to anybody.
Well, Chad, you feed in here, but I've been impressed with the way the Cats have been playing the last couple of weeks. They've come on strong. They didn't get clobbered except for one game at Georgia Tech. They've been beaten up on other teams, UNC Asheville and Gardner Webb, and had a real good weekend last weekend. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when you look at the results, especially recently, really been playing well. Throw out the Georgia Tech weekend, which obviously that's a tall task going into Atlanta, but have been playing really good ball. And you always like to see that teams playing their best going into the conference tournament because at the end of the day, you win the tournament and you're going to the NCAAs, which is what it's all about. But a lot of the bats really heating up for us and everything, and I guess from my perspective too, was really pleased with the crowds this year at baseball. I thought we had some of the best crowds in the time I've been here, and we were just crunching some numbers this morning and had our best year to date on record financially on ticket sales, whether it be season tickets or single game tickets. And so definitely saw a lot of people coming out to the games, and I probably attribute it to a lot of different things. I think one thing that really helped was that Maryland series was early in the year, had pretty decent weather for February, and took 2 out of 3, 2 of those games in dramatic fashion. And it seemed like it kind of planted a seed with a lot of people that, hey, these games are a lot of fun. And so I think it was kind of a catalyst for the rest of the season. And then the weather really helped us out too. Had some great weather, especially for some of our biggest promotions. We did a big promotion with Little Leagues and had one of our biggest crowds we've had in years. We played Appalachian State at home on a weekday game and gave out some replica jerseys. But it was just a really fun season from a fan's perspective. And I credit a lot of the staff here for working so hard, whether it be Tyler Pope in marketing, to Michael Gilbert and Ben Frederick in ticketing, to our media relations staff with Daniel Hooker and Catamount Club members coming out. Just a lot of people do a great job of putting on these home games. And so a lot of effort went in, but really felt we had some great crowds. We sell beer now at the ballpark, and that seemed like beer sales were up as well. And so
I'm shocked.
But good
I
things.
tell you, I'm shocked. That's great. I didn't know that. I haven't been to a game all year, unfortunately. I got up there a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, and was on days that they weren't playing at home. But Steve, you got Chad here on the hot seat. Fire away, sir.
Well, he's probably the busiest person and probably one of the most visible members of our athletic staff, and supervises all the marketing, the corporate sales, ticket office, even media relations, a good portion of our game operations, about everything that you can do to help fill the seats at Whitmire Stadium and the Ramsey Center and the Hennon Stadium and the Catamount Athletic Center. And Hooker might debate a little bit with me about who the busiest man is in the athletic department, but their offices are right next to each other, so we know all about that. Chad, give us, say, an idea of maybe what you do on a game day, like a game day scenario, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, just what it's all about in your area on game days.
Yeah, appreciate the kind words and for having me on today, guys. On my end, there's just a lot of variety with those areas that I'm involved with. Anytime like an issue might come up on game day, I'm usually working with whoever our director is in those different areas. Trey Fisher here oversees game management, so some of the real specifics on game day, sometimes with dealing with the umpires or officials, some of those types of things, field conditions. Trey and his staff are working through those things, and he does such a good job on that front too. But on my end, it's kind of a lot of the things that our fans will experience on game day. So just trying to make sure people have an enjoyable time when they come to the games. Oftentimes we'll have a lot of promotions or sponsors tied to a game. So just making sure those, all those elements of game day go well, whether it be a whiteout with some type of t-shirt giveaway, so maybe some special groups coming out to the game, just, really making sure everybody comes, has a good time. We create as big of a home field or home court advantage as we possibly can. And then, you want people to come have such a good time that they want to come back again. And, the fans make such an impact on our environment at the games, the home court or home field advantage. We always hear student athletes or coaches talking about how much it means to them when the place is packed and it's loud, and it really provides the team with just some extra, help in hopefully getting the victory. But definitely a lot of variety, and you kind of usually, like for football, for example, I'll plan out every minute basically of game day what I'm doing. I'll have a punch list before things really start getting busy and gates open, but I'll have a list of things we need to get done leading up to when gates open, and then kind of another list when gates do open, the things we'll want to do. A lot of times too, I'll work on during the games just all the like on-field, on-court promotions as well, whether that be a promotion with a sponsor to some type of recognition. If you come out to games, you'll see where we're recognizing a lot of folks, whether it be alumni that are back, you name it, but just kind of coordinating all that. And the one thing I would tell you too is like, I really enjoy it. The pressure's on game day. That's kind of where the rubber hits the road. But like, if you plan some event out on the field and for some reason it doesn't happen when it's supposed to happen, you don't get that time back. So you got to be like really buttoned up, and you got to make sure you get in and out of those promotions pretty quick too. Because the last thing you want to do is get like a technical foul for something going over, or get a 15-yard penalty for something not going right. And those things can sometimes happen. So you just got to really, kind of utilize the time that you do have and just be really organized. But we want to have a lot going on game day, because that's what makes things fun, whether it be something the band's doing, the cheerleaders are doing, or some on field or on court promotion.
So have you ever had like a complete meltdown or mess up that you're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? Tell us about something like that.
Yeah, we've had several. Fortunately, nothing, knock on wood, too crazy here. We've had a few things. I remember at Weber State, two things happened that were really unique. We had someone sneak a dog in, and he got off the leash and started running around the field during one of our football games. And it was a fast dog, and we were trying to figure out, it's delaying the game, and everybody's laughing as, you see the security people chasing the dog, and I'm trying to chase the dog. And then finally, one of the staff members, he went and grabbed a hot dog, which was quick thinking, and that dog came right over and got off the field. So credit to quick thinking for that. And then one time at a
that sounds like an
game,
ESPN top 10 moment.
Yes. But then one time at a basketball game at Weber State, we had ROTC rappelling down the game ball, and they were jumping out like kind of by the jumbotron, like where the catwalk and all that was up on the roof. And they rappelled down, and their cord got knotted up. And so they had the game ball, and they were swaying about 25 feet above the court and were stuck. And so a bunch of ROTC members had to go up and lift them back up onto the catwalk, but it ended up delaying the game about 10 minutes. So, but people still talk about it to this day. So sometimes the things that don't go right end up being some of the most memorable things.
That's great. And that kind of reminds me of when our great 83 season, we were in the playoffs and went down to Furman to meet them for the second time that year. And we beat them in Greenville, and we tore down their goalposts.
And that cost us $1,800 to have that. I don't know what it would be today, but we had to pay for the goalpost. The conference made us pay for it on the opposing team's field.
Love it. I thought that was one of the classic moments of Western mishaps, let's say.
Yeah. Well,
so what about season tickets? Let's talk a little bit about what you do and promotions you get. And I know football's going really well. I don't know about the other ones. I got another follow-up question for you on that.
Okay. Yeah. So season tickets are on sale. Our deadline for people that had season tickets last year to renew their same seats was the end of April, so just not too long ago. But we'll continue to sell season tickets all the way up through that first home game. And so just encourage people, if you don't have your season tickets, to reach out to the ticket office here. You can also buy online. A lot of people nowadays just go online and buy their season tickets, but we're getting close to having the season ticket books all completed. So we send that to a print company. So if people buy their season tickets here in the next day or so, that's kind of the deadline for us to be able to actually print season ticket books. After that, folks that buy will receive those season tickets digitally. But, we have tickets starting at just $99 for adult general admission seats. And we have 6 home games this year. We haven't had 6 home games since I believe it was 2019. And so, it's nice to have 6 games in E.J. Whitmire Stadium. And I think, quite frankly, it's one of the best home schedules we've had in the time I've been here. We've got our 2 non-conference games are against schools in the state with Gardner Webb and Elon coming in, and then a really good conference schedule as well that we have. And so definitely a lot of excitement. Season tickets have been at an all-time high the last few years, and we're pacing ahead of last year's all-time record. So just encourage people that are been thinking about buying season tickets to get them. It's definitely more affordable if you buy season tickets than if you wait for single game. That being said, our prices are across the board pretty affordable. even if you're buying single game, but you'll save the most money if you buy season tickets, and you also lock in the same seat for the whole season.
And you get preferred parking if you get your season tickets. I know I got my tickets. I think Steve got his. We both sit in the old guys section KK, right, Steve?
Right.
The average age up there is about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. If you buy season tickets, join the Catamount Club, then you can buy the season parking for Catamount Club members, and those lots are the closest ones to the stadium.
Yeah,
Have you
that's
thought
real
about
interesting
oh,
this
sorry.
year. We're going to lose those west side parking. There's about 120 some 30 parking places right behind the west side stands, and they've all been sort of reassigned over into the field house lot and in I guess what you call the Ramsey Center lot. So it's going to work out well. I think everybody will maybe not 99% be happy, but then most people are going to be happy with the situation. I've seen what it looks like, but they've got to understand with this construction going on is we're going to have improvements, and everybody's got to be on board with that too. And hopefully, it's just a 1 year scenario.
Yeah, and
Well,
we're
we're losing a
encouraging
couple
too.
hundred seats. Sorry, Chad. We're losing a couple hundred seats those last two rows on those west side stands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way across the top of the west stands for this upcoming year. Those will be blocked off, so we're losing those, and we're moving folks that were in those top two rows to as comparable a seats as possible that they can have. We've been told that we should get those back at the start of the 26th season, when construction's done, as long as everything goes smooth with all the construction and the dates and the weather cooperates and all. So yeah, that's the plan. We are encouraging people though, if they are sitting on the east side, which is the larger side where the current press box sits, that if people have seats over there, that they enter on the east side this year. On the west side will still be accessible, but the width of that concourse is going to be about half as wide as normal because of construction fence and the work that they're doing on the new Western Skybox or Sky Suites area, that's going to end up being impacted where it's going to be a little bit tighter, quite a bit tighter on that west side. They have told us that concessions and restrooms will still be accessible, which is really good too, but we're going to try and get as many people to just enter on the east side if their seats are on the east side, just because it is going to be more congested than usual over on the smaller side.
How's that
And
going to affect tailgating? And I'm sorry,
Oh,
Steve.
that's no. I was just talking about the promotions this year. Some of the promotions we've got going on. We got our first night game in quite some time, and homecoming. And a great Southern Conference schedule this year. The what you would call the contenders are all coming to Cullowhee this year, and you might want to elaborate on that, especially that first ball game. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great promotions coming. We'll be putting out a press release here soon. But first game, as Steve mentioned, the night game. We haven't had a night game since 2021 when we played Eastern Kentucky here. But excited for a night game. A lot of students haven't seen a night game here, so I know they're really fired up about it. But it's Labor Day weekend, so really encouraging people, hey, mark your calendar. I think Labor Day weekend is one of those, hey, you got to give people plans or they're going to make plans on their own. So anybody who's thinking about Labor Day, spend it here in Cullowhee for our home opener against Gardner Webb. We'll be kicking off in the evening, and then our plans are to have fireworks that evening as well. And so we'll be putting out some hype videos and such here shortly in regards to that. But really excited to kind of start it with that. Hopefully get a lot of students and community and alums back for that home opener. And then second game, we're going to do our Whiteout Whitmire, which has always been really well received. A lot of people wearing white. Looks awesome when you look back at photos, seeing a sea of white. Looks great on game day. And we're going to do our freshman run on that September 13th game as well. So we'll start with evening game and fireworks. The next game will be Elon, and that'll be more than likely be an afternoon game with the freshman run and Whiteout Whitmire. And then we turn around and play Sanford the next week, September 20th. And that's family weekend, which traditionally is our biggest crowd of the year. It's kind of surprising that sometimes that's a bigger crowd than homecoming because we get a great crowd at homecoming as well. And then we're off to fall break when we have Furman here on October 11th, and we traditionally have done our Heroes Day salute. So we'll honor first responders, and we'll end up also honoring all the military on that game against Furman. And it's fall break, so a lot of students will be gone. We'll also celebrate EBCI and invite the EBCI community out for that game as well. Then we turn around, you're going to be tested on this at the end of the show here. Get all this down. The next game is going to be homecoming, which is November 8th against Mercer. So you got the top two teams from last year in the standings playing each other for homecoming on November 8th, which will be a huge game. And then we turn around for the Blue Ridge Boulder Battle against ETSU on November 15th. So just a really, really good schedule with a lot of great promotions planned. So we're fired up about it.
I think that's going to be a huge game with East Tennessee State. I can see where they're coming on, and that could be the Southern Conference Championship game in my mind. Of course, I think of a lot of things that other people don't think of.
Well, we speaking of opponents, we've got some interesting games that we schedule further out. We can't, of course, do the SoCon schedule more than this coming season, but we've got some teams that we've scheduled. Tell us a little bit about upcoming opponents that are out of conference in future seasons.
Sure. Yeah, we've got, obviously we try and get to at least one money game scheduled every year. And so, this year we play Wake Forest. The next year in 2026 we play Cincinnati, which we haven't played them in a while, but excited to play them. And then in 27 we've got East Carolina on the schedule as a money game. And then in 28, as y'all know probably very well since it was just recently released, we got Appalachian State up there.
Who was that? What's the name of that school?
So I got that in 2028, and then we're still working on some future money games in 29. Had some dialogue with some folks in 29 and 30, and then but nothing officially signed just yet. And then in 31 we'll play the Georgia Bulldogs down in Athens in 31. So excited about some of these upcoming money games. I think our fans will really enjoy some of these road trips. So,
plus, Chad, we think we're going to have a 12-game schedule from here on out. Starting, it's been, the alpha. You can explain that about the number of. You only play most of the years 11, unless the calendar gives us a break like this year. But we hope this legislation happens, and we'll be playing 12 games every season.
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, most years you're only allowed to play 11. And then, as you said, Steve, it's just based on how the calendar falls with how many weekends you have between like Labor Day and Thanksgiving weekend. FCS plays the first round of the playoffs the first weekend of Thanksgiving weekend ends up being the first round of the FCS. And so if this legislation passes, then we'll be able every year to play 12 games. And they'll actually put that game in week 0 so that every team still has a bye during the season if they choose to end up having their bye week be not in week 0. But what'll end up happening is, we'll end up having more than likely a game in week 0, which is the week before Labor Day. And that could happen as soon as the 2026 season. And so it'll be interesting to see. There'll kind of be a mad scramble if this gets approved for teams trying to find a game in week 0. You don't necessarily have to play in week 0. You could still play 12 games that season. But the negative to not playing in week 0 would be your bye. You'd end up putting your bye week in week 0. So I know a lot of coaches would prefer having their bye week somewhere in the middle of the season. Works out best. And so, looking forward to seeing how all that'll play out. There's a lot of things going on right now with scheduling. A lot of SEC schools are kind of waiting to see. Not all of them, but a lot of them are waiting to see if they're going to have 8 conference games or 9 conference games. If they have 9 conference games, that takes away one non-conference game. Not to say that they still won't play FCS, but some of those schools are kind of waiting to see how it all shakes out to figure out some of their future scheduling.
Well, there are the teams that we've been playing outside of the conference that are FCS schools like Campbell and Elon. We've gotten into that, and I like that. Gardner Webb. Most of those schools are east of us, and that's good because a lot of our fan base is based in North Carolina. But living down here in Georgia, I like the idea of maybe picking up, say, Tennessee Tech or North Alabama or West Georgia. Have we looked at any of those schools? And once we start playing 12 games every year, is that a possibility that's up to football, but you're tied into that, so you might know?
Yeah, and we, myself and our athletic director and the coaches and Todd Shealy, our director of football operations, we talk quite a bit about, the schedule and our philosophy and what we want to do. Obviously, there's a financial component with the money game. You try and avoid too many games in a row on the road, but really thinking through the schedule and everything. But there's a program called Gridiron out there. That's how all the schools kind of track schedules. So I can go into Gridiron and look and see Tennessee Tech when they might have availability in future years. And we've had some dialogue with Tennessee Tech. We've had some dialogue with West Georgia, and so those are teams that are definitely a possibility in the future, especially with this 12th game being added. North Carolina Central is another one that you'll probably end up seeing on the schedule here sooner rather than later as well. Another conference team, but as you mentioned, it is nice if you can schedule some team on the road, especially that's got a lot of catamounts nearby. And West Georgia just went Division I not too long ago, and they're a pretty easy trip as well. But it's always nice if you can make it a fairly easy trip for our team, and if there's a lot of alums in the area, that also helps.
Right.
Coach, tell us a little bit about your family here. Yeah, I know when I was working in the athletic department, of course, my kids were very involved with what was going on. They did the ball boys, bat boys, everything like this. Anybody in your family maybe trying to or talking about following in your footsteps?
Yes, and boy, I tell you what, obviously busy times working in athletics. Definitely couldn't do it without a very supportive wife. My wife, Kristen, she is a trooper. She'll help out a lot of times too on game days. If I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, we need some help. She's always willing to lend a hand, which I really appreciate. And then our daughter is just finished college and is working in Charlotte, and she thought about going into sports, but she's in the event planning side of things for the company she works for, and really enjoying it and getting a first full-time job, which mom and dad really appreciate. Our daughter Peyton having her first full-time job, but she really likes that, but loves sports. And then our son Tanner is a business finance major, and he just finished his sophomore year at NC State, but also is interested in potentially going into sports on the business finance side of things. So I think, Steve, as you were talking about it, when you work in college athletics, your kids are just kind of coming to the games all the time, because that's the best
Right.
way to see mom or dad if you got someone working in college athletics. But it's just kind of been our way of life and a lifestyle for the family. And so, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been awesome. And it gives them a chance too to kind of see the country too, going on road games and everything as well. So they enjoy it. And now that we're kind of empty nesters, they'll constantly be, shooting me a text to how the Catamounts looking. And so even though they're not here, they're following it pretty close when they're not here.
That's great.
So one last double question here is basketball. Coach Kraft's been doing a great job communicating, sending out emails, got the fundraisers, and he's doing pretty well with the NIL. Has he wrapped up his recruiting? Do we have a pretty full roster going into this?
I know we're close. I know there was a recruit here on campus this past week, and so he was a tall one too. I'll tell you that, very very
Seven
tall.
7 foot and a quarter inch.
Yes.
Wow.
And he looked every bit 7 foot too. So
Mhm.
that could be some nice shot blocking right there and rebounding. But I know he's pretty close. I haven't heard if he's officially done yet or not, but I know, there's been several folks that we've signed, and we've got a big core of them that's back as well. And Steve, you may be able to even share more details, because I know you were in the meeting on Friday with the Catamount Club Board of Directors where Coach Kraft talked about the teams some. But I know he's excited about the new additions, and I know he's also really excited about so many of our players that are coming back this upcoming year, which in this day in college sports, you never know from year to year how many folks you are going to be able to.
Yeah, I've heard 9. He's got 9 players retained from last season, and there'll be 6 newcomers coming in, whether it be portal players or actually high school seniors that are becoming be freshmen here. Yeah.
Yeah, one guy I saw last week that signed with us is 6'8", so we got some height. Hopefully, that's always needed
Yeah.
in Cullowhee for some reason. We should be. I wake up every morning thinking, is today the day we're going to hear on our new AD?
Yeah, I think we're getting pretty close on that from a timing standpoint. I would think in the next couple of weeks, if everything goes as planned, maybe even sooner, that we'll know who who the athletic director is for the Catamounts. So should know something very soon.
Great. Well, Steve, you have anything else?
I think that pretty much covers everything. I think we've hit a little bit of everything today. And Chad, it's always good. You're so knowledgeable of everything that's going on in the world of athletics at Western Carolina. And I appreciate you and thank you for joining us today.
Well, I really appreciate the invite and really appreciate you guys doing this as well. It's a great way for Catamount fans to hear what's going on, and just really appreciate all your efforts. And I tell you what, this place is a great place. It was everything I was hoping it would be when we got here. Family environment, great fan base, and I've always been impressed just with how much pride everybody has that went to school at Western Carolina, and it just shows on game days. It's just fun to be a part of. I'm really honored to work here.
Well, we definitely appreciate you. And since you are in the promotion area, if you come up with some ideas to spread the word on tracking the cats, we would appreciate it. Always good seeing you. And on behalf of our sponsor, Kevin Stanberry and Stanberry Insurance, who I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, he would appreciate it if we get more viewers and listeners too. So, Stanberry Insurance in Silva, Waynesville, and Highlands, we really appreciate their support. It funds what we do here with this software and getting it up and running. And Chad, thanks again. We will see you all again next time in about 2 weeks. Thanks so much for following Track the Cats.